Hey you guys, so this video is about the mental gymnastics that come with trying to ignore the 3D, or when you subscribe to the notion that nothing in the physical, factual world is real. So when I first started finding my way through the law of assumption, I kind of, bought into the idea that nothing was real. It's just imagination, just imagination. Um, I'm at the point now where I feel like, yes, we use our own imaginal perspectives and our beliefs and the things that we subscribe to give meaning to the physical and factual world. But I feel like you do yourself a disservice to try and disregard and, well, I can't say disregard, but to completely bypass the physical and factual world. To me, I feel like it's a shared reality. It's more so just like information and a reflection of what's going on in your imagination. And instead of doing your best to lower the importance of the 3D and physical reality, I feel like you're better off raising the importance of the imagination. And so I was talking to Chat GPT about it, because this is how I'll be fleshing out my ideas from time to time. And by time to time, I mean all the time. And so this is what I said, right? I'm just going to read it. People that speak on the law of assumption and imagination sometimes push this rhetoric that nothing is real and that the imagination is the only reality. But for me, I don't subscribe to that perspective. I feel like imagination is real, but a more personal reality than the shared reality we experience in the 3D. I think it makes more sense, and it's easier for me to raise the importance of what I'm experiencing in imagination than to try to negate the importance of what's happening in the physical and factual world. I feel like the mental effort it takes to ignore the 3D is too great, and it's also unnecessary when you can simply choose to look at the 3D as information instead of as a finality. So I've had so many different experiences with circumstances being what they are, but not necessarily being the end all be all of possibility. Regardless of whether I have moments where I feel like things aren't working or just I'm doing something wrong or whatever, I have this notion that's ingrained in my brain that anything is possible. I've experienced too much. I've seen too much. I've seen too much examples from other people that don't even, know law of assumption and don't even subscribe to those concepts. They still kind of like use it because, I mean, it is what it is. You don't have to believe in gravity for it to make you fall if you trip, So I've had too many experiences, too many, to ever think that anything is not possible. It truly is. And there have been countless situations where I didn't know how something was going to happen, and it just happened in a better way than I could have even imagined myself. I was just looking at some of the videos on my channel, and one of them I was talking about my Costa Rica trip and all the crazy things that pretty much conspired behind the scenes so that the scene that I had in my head could play out even better than what I thought it could. So I'm definitely someone who believes in raising the importance of what you're experiencing in your imagination instead of trying to negate what's happening out here in the 3D. So I put that in ChatGPT, and this is what ChatGPT had to say, right? Your perspective is thoughtful and pragmatic, offering a balanced approach to the law of assumption and the role of imagination. Recognizing imagination as a personal reality that can influence the shared physical reality aligns well with the idea of integration rather than opposition. It acknowledges that both realms, imagination and 3D, are real in their respective ways, each serving a purpose. And that's very important because everything that is what it is supposed to be what it is. So it feels kind of weird to be like, oh, the 3D ain't nothing when you're literally living in it. Like, you're here having a human experience. So why would you negate the experience? Because let's be completely honest, you're not imagining things just to have things in your imagination. That's what you want to experience out here in the 3D. That's what you want to experience in the physical and factual world. And to say that you don't is kind of, it's like, no, we don't believe you. You need more people. Because if that's the case, you might as well just go and meditate for 24 hours a day and do nothing else. Don't even try to immerse yourself in the 3D world if you're going to sit here and say it's not real. The reality of it is why we need to utilize our imagination. You can't on one end and be like, oh, 3D is not real, but let me sit here and do a technique so that I could get something and I can experience something in my physical and factual world. That doesn't make sense to me. Ultimately, do whatever it is that you want to do, believe whatever it is that you want to believe, but I'm talking about my perspective and my understanding of it. You want the two to work together. You don't want to negate one and be like, oh, I just imagined it, so it's not important. You don't want to do that. And you also don't want to be like, oh, this isn't what I want, so it's not important. It doesn't exist. Like that. I don't know. That just doesn't make sense to me. So let's keep going. By choosing to view the 3D world as information rather than finality, you're empowering yourself to respond to it consciously without dismissing or resisting it. This mindset reduces the cognitive dissonance that often arises from trying to ignore the 3D entirely. It's like acknowledging the 3D as a reflection or indicator of what has been dominant in your inner world, while understanding that it's not the ultimate authority. It's malleable and subject to change. That right there is so important. You're empowering yourself to respond to it consciously without dismissing or resisting it. A lot of people that come on here, they be making these videos and stuff, and I'm like, you don't realize that you're resisting what's going on in front of you. And what you resist persists. That's become like this sort of cliche at this point, but it's true. Acceptance in all forms is key. You don't have to say that something is okay to accept that it is. Accepting that something is something doesn't mean it's always going to be like that. Doesn't mean you like that it's like that. Doesn't mean that you want more of it. But you're not resisting it. You're like, okay, this is happening. I feel like I always have this visual of like somebody stranded in the middle of the ocean or something like that, and they're still in denial that something's going wrong. Like, in order to fix the problem, I feel like the first thing you need to do is acknowledge that there is a problem. And acknowledging that there is a problem or something is not going the way that you want it to go, that's not gonna ruin anything. You're just like, okay, this is where I am. This is what's happening. And now I have to figure out how to change it. But the first step to change is acknowledging that something isn't the way you want it to be. So, okay, yes. It's like acknowledging the 3D as a reflection or indicator of what has been dominant in your inner world, while understanding that it's not the ultimate authority. It's malleable and subject to change. What has been the dominant? What has been dominant in your inner world? What has been dominant? It's just information. That's it. It's a reflection of what has been going on. What you've been saying is true. Not even necessarily what you're currently saying is true. It's what has been going on, the backstory you've been telling yourself, the mental tape that you've been playing over and over and over from before this moment. Maybe you're still doing that, or maybe you stopped doing that recently, or maybe it's been some time, but it's just taking time to catch up in your physical and factual world. That's all that it is. Like, everything that you're, okay, it's my belief that everything that, let me speak to me. It's my belief that everything that I'm experiencing is a part of me. And there's a saying that's like, you can't hate yourself into a better version of yourself. And I apply that to like everything. No, my situation isn't what I want it to be. Is me hating it going to make it better? It might push me to do things differently. But ultimately, I feel like understanding the situation is better than hating the situation. Let's keep going. Raising the importance of what you're experiencing in imagination allows you to shift focus and energy toward desired outcomes without forcing yourself to devalue the physical world, which can sometimes feel like mental gymnastics. This approach fosters harmony between your internal and external realities, making the process feel more natural and sustainable. It sounds like you're embracing a perspective rooted in both practicality and creativity, using imagination as a powerful tool for transformation while engaging with the 3D world in a way that respects its role in your experience. This philosophy strikes a healthy balance between self-acceptance and intentional change. And I feel like for me, that's the name of the game. It's balance. Like, it's balance, because if you have a situation where everything in your life changes for the better, you're now living the 3D experience that you want to live, are you going to say it's not real then? If what you want the most is like a beautiful family, a beautiful home, just like a beautiful life experience, and you get that by way of, using your imagination properly, are you then going to say, oh, well, nothing is real, none of this is real? I feel like that, like, is it only not real when it's not going your way, or is it also not real when you are living the life that you want to live? Like, it's all real. That's the thing. A lot of times we sit and act like the imagination is not real and the physical reality is real. But in all actuality, they're both just as real. And you don't realize, no pun intended, that the stuff that you have going on inside your head, it counts too. At first I acknowledged, no, this isn't what I want. This is crap. Like, I want something to change. But acknowledging that things are the way that they are first and accepting it. Like, okay, this is what it is. And I know that this is what it is. Let me focus on what I actually want to feel. Let me focus on what I actually want to happen. That's my route. I don't try to be like, oh, I know that I'm living in this apartment that I can't stand, but I'm gonna just pretend that this apartment is this mansion that I want. Like, for me, that doesn't, I don't know, maybe for other people, they're able to lose themselves completely in the delusions of what they want things to be, even in their waking lives. For me, I like to participate in my waking life. Like, even if somebody's talking to me and they're saying something that I don't want them to say, I'm like, okay, yeah, you said that to me, cool. In my head, I'm like, okay, well, you said that, but this is what you're gonna say in my head. I don't try to act like they're saying that in physical reality. I feel like that's kind of weird. Like, but some people do that. So I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of unnecessary mental gymnastics that come with trying to ignore everything that's very real and right in front of you. And you don't have to do that. You can just be like, okay, yeah, this is it. But it's not the final, this is not the final say. Like, what's in front of me is not deciding what's ahead of me. For most of us, I feel like we've been taught to rely on what we see. We've been conditioned to take what we see as evidence of what's to come. That's what we've been taught to do our whole life. And so to just go from that to trying to just ignore it, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really work. And I feel like you spend a lot of time, like ChatGPT say, having cognitive dissonance with it, because it's like you see that this is happening, but you're trying to convince yourself that this is not what it is. I don't think that's the type of self-persuasion that you need to be doing. I don't think you need to persuade yourself that your physical reality is something different. You need to persuade yourself of what's going on in your imagination. So what I learned about myself is that I have a tendency to take cues from what's going on in physical reality and bring it to my imagination, when we should take cues from our imagination and allow it to play out in our physical reality. It's a whole lot of mental gymnastics that come with looking at this chair, seeing that it's brown, and telling yourself that it's pink. You don't have to do that. In your head, the chair can be pink. When you look at it, you're like, oh, it's brown. Okay, cool. Go on about your day. In your head, it can be pink. Eventually, something will happen where you will have a pink chair. like that's been my experience. Instead of trying to just like mentally force the physical reality to do something, and be upset and depressed for as long as the physical reality is not doing what you want it to do. I feel like that's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy, when all you need to do is enjoy the experience you want to experience in your head and let the physical reality take care of itself. Like, that's not my job to make this chair pink. My job is to enjoy the feeling of having a pink chair in my head for as long as it feels good. And then I feel like that might be something, that might be why I think it's the Bible says, let the dead bury the dead. Like, that's not my job to bury the dead. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not my job to worry about what's happening out here. My job is to remain focused on what it is that I actually want. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. No, y'all understand what I'm saying. Y'all understand what I'm saying. But yeah, cut all the mental gymnastics, girl. It's unnecessary. Like, just experience what you want to experience in your head, and let everything else take care of itself, because it will. That's one thing you don't have to worry about. Anything that needs to move will move, as long as you can persuade yourself of the end goal already being done. Because when you're in your head, there's only now in imagination. There's only now. Everything you're experiencing in your imagination, you're experiencing it now. If you recall a memory from way back when are you experiencing that memory? You're experiencing that memory now. You're feeling the feelings from that memory now, good, bad, or indifferent. You're experiencing that now. There's no time in imagination. There's no future, there's no past. Everything in your imagination is happening now. So if you're in your imagination experiencing the joy that comes with finally getting a pink chair, you're experiencing that right now. It's an eternal now that's going on in your head. Out here in the physical, this is where time and all that other stuff might happen. So it has to deal with itself. That's not your job. Your job is to think, experience, believe, wonder, notice, remember, do any imaginal act that makes you feel like you have what you want, you're experiencing what you want. And just keep doing that for as long as it feels good, for as long as you want to. Get in the habit of thinking the things that you want to think. I feel like that's the easiest way to explain like manifesting and imagining. Get in the habit of thinking the things that you want to think, feeling the things that you want to think, regardless of what's going on out here. Accept what's going on out here. Yeah, this is crap. I am quick to be like, yeah, this sucks. But regardless, like, this feeling sucks, like this situation sucks, this experience sucks. In my head, I'm going to feel like this. I'm not gonna hate what's going on out here. I'm not gonna try to devalue or belittle what's going on out here. I'm just gonna look at it and be like, oh, okay, so this is what's happening. This sucks. And then in my head, I'm gonna feel what I want to feel, regardless. I've already acknowledged that this is what it is. Okay, cool. This is what I want it to be. Let me keep replaying that. Let me keep experiencing that. Like, I cannot say that enough. Word to me. Experience the feeling that you want to feel. Experience the thoughts that you want to think. Don't try to bring cues from the physical reality into your brain, because that's this realm. That don't have nothing to do with up here. Anything is possible up here, and it'll figure itself out down here. But yeah, thank you for watching my video. I'll see you at the next video.